Hello, YouTube world. We are live, kind of, sort of. This is the pre-show where we get all of our audio sounding okay-ish and get everything prepared. And I wanted to go ahead and start broadcasting the pre-show so that we can tell our listeners that you can get in contact with us. You can get on the show by sending a direct message to @SimpElementary on Twitter. Our DMs are open. Whenever you DM us, just give us your Gmail address and stand by, because in the show we will call you when we're ready for you. Same thing for email if you don't want to use Twitter. If you just send an email to simplyelемentarypodcast@gmail.com, subject line call in, and just tell us your Gmail address and we'll get you added to the list and we'll call you when we're ready for you, okay? So that's the idea. I'm going to start inviting the other people and we'll get going. The show won't actually start for another 30 minutes. This will be a little boring. A lot boring. I'll start bringing them in slowly here.
Hey there.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good. How you doing?
Doing great. Just a warning, I'm sure you've already seen, but we are live on air.
Oh, no.
To 0 viewers, but that's not to say they won't back up. And I see Dane Henson sporting a really rugged beard.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's going good.
Nice. You don't sound too bad on those Apple earbuds.
Yeah, I'm hoping that's what we're using. Let's see.
Whatever you're using sounds pretty good.
Okay, cool.
And I don't hear an echo, so we'll stick with it.
I'll stick with it.
Awesome. All right. Let me invite a few more people here. I invited the first batch.
That is quite the beard.
It's good stuff. I need to trim. It's been I try to kind of keep it tight and maintained, and like I care but not too much, kind of that look going on, and I have not paid any attention to it lately, so it's gotten out of control.
You're not doing a very good job.
No, and my hair has gotten kind of crazy too. It's been a wild couple of months for me. I hear a mechanical keyboard.
Clickety clack.
Yes, of course. Only way to fly.
I'm about to get one for myself. I have one here, but it's horrible. But I am going to get one for work. They're offering to purchase a keyboard for me.
Nice.
So, yeah, I'm thinking, I forget what the brand is. It's like Mistel or something. I don't know. Seems like a good brand, and everybody loves it. So sorry, go ahead.
I bought one of those DOS keyboards.
Yeah.
The MX Blue variety. MX Blue is my keycap of choice.
Okay.
And then I ended up buying a cheap $30 knockoff on Amazon of the same MX Blues, and I swear I like the knockoff better than the one that costs 4 times as much.
What's the knockoff? What did you get?
The knockoff is a brand called Pluggable.
Okay.
And the logo's really ugly and everything, but it's backlit. It's really cool, and I love the way it feels. The fake MX Blues are better than the real MX Blues on the DOS keyboard.
Can you get my water for me? Yeah, cool.
Was that Blake that I saw?
Yeah, I see Blake.
Hello.
Hello, Blake. The wizard, the man I owe a beer to. How did you figure out that it was a executable bit missing from the Debian rules file?
So my normal debug process usually goes to like cloning the repo locally, adding a bunch of console logs into Houston, trying to build and see like, is it working right and everything. And eventually after like 4 or 5 builds, I'm like, this probably isn't a problem with Houston. So then I just kind of like start Googling up random lines from the build log, and it's like, oh, here's like a bunch of old Debian like package maintainer news lists, and here's some kind of related issue.
I still can't understand why a text file needs the executable bit. But I'll go with it. It's fine. I'm glad it's working.
From what I know, it's like a text file, but it's what the Debian package system like runs in order to actually build the package.
Okay.
Runs.
Right, yes. It runs a text file. Okay, sure. Good enough for
Debian
me.
packaging still eludes me.
Oh, it's... sorry.
It's the best, guys. The best. That's why we're running on Ubuntu and not Arch.
We're almost in the future, guys. Hang in there.
And let me add, so we have kind of the usual suspects. We're going to have Daniel and Cassidy and Blake.
Woohoo!
And then we also have a person that I've never met. I don't actually know a whole lot about him, but Santiago Leon.
Oh, sick.
Yes, he pinged me and wanted to come on the show, and I thought that would be super cool, so we're going to get him on as well.
You can
Cool.
answer all your localization questions.
Exactly.
Nice.
And I figure that we'll have a few, assuming we get people wanting to call in, which may or may not happen, but assuming that we do, I think we may get a few of those. So, someone has MX Browns. I can tell the difference. Who has MX Browns?
I don't know what they are. That's what I told you. I've got this keyboard. Let me pull it. See if I can pull it around. It's the Red Dragon. Whoa. And I
Dude,
don't.
those are totally MX Browns. I can tell by the clicky clack.
I have no idea. It's like knockoff, I think. It's the Kumara model K552. I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, tell me which style it is. I get an extra point if it's an MX Brown.
That's
really
what I
wanna-
was thinking
I want to
about.
get one of those
getting, but-
knockoff IBM Model M keyboards, the buckling spring.
The buckling spring.
Yeah, they're extra loud and extra clicky. Like, there's nothing like them, I'm told.
So what you're telling me is I need to get blues if I want it to be quieter than this.
No,
clicky
blues are
clacky.
the absolute loudest you can possibly get,
Oh,
other
okay.
than a buckling spring. The people in my office absolutely hate me.
Let's see. It's this. Is on.
Let's see.
Cherry blue equivalent, it says.
Oh, interesting. It's more of a clack than a click, so I would think it was more of a brown. But
I don't know, man. It's a $30 keyboard.
well, you can't go wrong there. All right, Santiago has been invited.
Are we in studio mode? Is that what we're supposed to do?
If you want to go ahead and turn into studio mode, go for it. I think I'm in studio mode. Yep, I am.
Okay. I did that. I just didn't know if that's still what you do.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's all... we make it up as we go anyway.
All right.
It's Simply
Sounds
Elementary
cooler.
best practices. This is like we're professionals here and we only use studio mode.
That's right.
Clearly professionals.
From one professional to another, how do I enable that?
If you click the gear icon up top, make sure you don't hit the hangout button. But you click the gear, and then like the fourth drop down is voice. You click where it says voice, and you turn it to studio.
There we go.
I like how it says studio is not designed for spoken conversations.
But they sound way better.
I don't understand that.
I guess it uses more bandwidth, like it's a higher bit rate or something.
Oh, they're lying to us.
Google always lies to us.
No, don't lie to me, Google.
Oh gosh, my garage is a mess, guys.
I have a question for you, App Center third-party developers. Should I
Uh-oh.
save that for 20 minutes from now, or can
Uh,
I just blurt shit out?
Blurt it out, and we'll reserve the right to not answer it if we don't want
Okay.
to. Yep.
I'm just curious if you've noticed any change in your revenue since Juno came out.
Woo, I want to. Dane, don't answer. I want to save that.
Okay.
I don't. Do you have an app on App Center yet, Dane?
I have always had Agenda on there.
But is it on Juno?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it was there. It's been there since release, I think.
Is it monetized?
It should be.
Hey, check it real quick.
I will. I'm gonna look it up.
Maybe it's not even
Agenda.
on there. I could have
It
sworn it
is
was.
$3.
Okay, good.
Agenda, get things done for $3.
For $3.
I'd like to get stuff
I don't
done
know.
for
Do you
$3.
guys feel like it's worth it? I feel like it's worth it.
I mean, I feel like you could charge more than that,
Yeah.
to be honest.
I mean, it's pay what you want, so you can always. I mean, if someone says
Yeah.
that it's not worth it, then
Yeah, I won't pay this $3. Okay, click the drop down.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Okay.
I just changed my volume. Did that make a difference for anyone?
Nope.
Cool.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think that slider actually does anything.
Sweet.
Nice.
I do want to. Let's see, Dane. I'm going to try something. Don't be mad. Let's see.
No,
Okay.
I'm so mad.
Cool. All right.
You turned off my camera.
I want to have that for the callers, and also want to. Cool. There's an eject button. Cool. So I basically want to have it to where when we bring people on, we do the normal NPR call-in show kind of thing, talk to them, and then get them the heck out of here. And I'll probably turn their video off too.
Just kick them out.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we're gonna get out of here.
Well, you're done here. Move along.
So I see we have a few more people watching the pre-show live.
Ooh.
If you would like to get on the show, we just need your Gmail address. So if you will send us a direct message on Twitter to Simp Elementary, we'll get that. We'll add you to the list. Or if you don't like Twitter and you want to use just your normal email, send us your Gmail address to simplyelementarypodcast@gmail.com. Subject line: call in.
You're
Just
so
gonna
professional.
really quickly sudo apt remove com.github.cassidyjames.star.
Oh.
I just realized how many apps I had from like testing stuff.
I have an idea for a new app. I'm just gonna tease that out there, but I'm not
Ooh.
gonna say anything about it.
Ooh. What does it do? What can it do?
I'm not gonna say anything. I'll just say I realized that we are lacking a certain little utility app that I feel like is something that's crucial to an OS.
Does it silence overhead airplane noises?
Oh gosh,
was
you guys
that?
can hear that? I'm
Was
so
that
sorry. I need to close that door. Hold on a second.
Got him.
Okay, I'm back. I closed
Does
the
it
door.
does it remove the accessories category from every application's app data?
I wish. I think I'm one of those offenders, so I'm sorry.
I need to spend more time cleaning up the app data, but I spent a lot of time Sunday doing that. I'm pretty proud of.
Yeah. Oh, I have
But I
my
cleaned it
Fender
up a
too.
bit.
Harvey has the accessories.
Uh-oh.
I'm such a bad person. I better go fix that right now
Yeah.
before somebody
don't-
calls me out.
I don't think I realized you could have it in multiple categories.
Uh-huh.
I need to work on that for the next.
What kind of an app developer are you?
man?
It's called SEO, man.
That's true.
Just put all the categories in there.
Yes.
I mean, vocal fits a whole lot of categories, so I
It does.
feel
It does.
I felt like
Yeah.
I didn't have great ones to stick agenda in, but it's like accessories, and then I think it's in Office.
Is
Yeah,
productivity
Office.
one of the new categories that you guys are working on?
There currently is not, but yeah, I think we got to figure out some kind of because I think the FDO spec like is before the dawn of time, so it doesn't even have things like social media. So
Yeah.
Right.
we probably need to actually like propose some new categories, but then also try to figure out like how to use the existing spec better.
Let's see.
That the stuff you've been working on though looks sweet.
Thanks.
like it.
Yeah, that's all Cassidy basically.
Yeah, it's cool stuff.
It blows my mind that that stuff is still all pure CSS.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand how that works.
It's magic.
Let's see here.
Oh no. Okay, there we go.
I don't know how to feel about the show yet because it's already been one of those evenings where everything that can possibly go wrong or change or affect something has already happened. So it's going to be interesting.
Weird. That's pretty much how my whole week's been this week. So
Oh, I bet because you, Blake, you're heavily involved with the Thalio release, aren't you?
Oh yeah.
How did that go?
Yeah.
Well, and keep in mind, Republic, so don't say anything that is that System 76 would frown on you sharing with the world.
That's it. That's all that happened.
Just let's just say there's a major traffic spike that we were not expecting. So like the first 4 hours of launch were me and Ben, the other web developer, pretty much trying to code out caching for like all of our infrastructure.
Oh, yeah.
Because like our database was all maxing out and everything. Like, oh god, code faster.
But I don't know if we'll talk about it in the show or not. It just if it happens naturally, we will. But man, what a beautiful system! I love the
Seriously.
wood.
Yeah.
Yeah, the wood is like super nice and warm, especially the dark walnut one.
I now regret not buying the walnut turntable that I wanted because I could live in a world where my turntable matches my PC tower, and I want to live in that world.
Do you think that GUI designer applies to Harvey? What do they mean by GUI designer?
GUI designer.
Yeah.
Does that mean that someone out there is a CLI designer?
Well, I mean, does that mean like applications like Glade only, or does it mean like anything that you could use to design UIs like Sketch, or does that apply to stuff like Harvey where it's contrast checking?
It's a good question.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it in there and see if Cassidy rejects it later.
Let's see. I've not heard. Let me hear. Talk to Santiago here. Did you get my invite? Question mark. No, we've lost viewers. We're boring people to death.
Yeah, there's nothing going on right now. This is
No.
all pre-show, I guess.
Yeah.
I wanted to just go live at the pre-show just so I'd have a few more chances to tell people how to get in line to.
Right.
New Slack message. That's the problem with an ultra-wide monitor is you'll be looking in this corner and you get a new notification. It's like, ooh, over here.
Do not disturb, bro.
Oh. Well, in this case, I needed to see the message.
Oh, okay.
But that's I actually let me do that. Oh yeah, do Monster. That's good stuff. So worst case scenario is we get no callers and we just have a normal show where we talk about Juno.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah. Worst case scenario.
Is it being recorded for later viewing?
Yes, it is.
Nice.
At least I hope it is because that's how I'm going to pull the audio. If it's not, we're screwed. So I guess worst case scenario is we record an entire show that only a few people see and then it disappears forever.
This is an elementary exclusive.
Yeah. Live.
Live from New York studios.
Are we going to talk about American politics?
We can.
Oh, gosh.
I'm all for it, man. Bring it. Whatever.
Why
it's
did
fine.
we
Oh boy.
why did we do this tonight of all nights? I'm like I was gonna be glued to the television.
Yeah, everybody's watching the election results.
Yeah, the problem is just schedule-wise, because Dana, I know you've got a lot of stuff going on, and like tonight was your only night out of like a 3-week span.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
It's okay, man.
It's
We'll
my
make it
fault.
work.
And we can talk about U.S. politics if we want
Bring
to.
it. I'll probably at least at the start of the show mention like, "Hey, hope everybody voted," that sort of thing. I actually voted on a paper ballot for the first time today.
Really?
Very nice.
Yeah, it felt super old school. I kind of liked it.
Did you feed it into a machine?
You darn right I did. It was
Yeah,
great.
that's what we do here.
And it was, this one that we went to, I should probably save all this for the show, but the polling place is my old K through 8 elementary school. And everybody knows each other, like, and has forever. So, like, they have the booth set up, but everyone was, like, going around, like, peeking around the corner of the booth and, like, talking to you, like, "Hey, I haven't seen you in forever. How have you been?" Like, it's just,
Oh, goodness.
there was no privacy whatsoever, but it's fine. It's
Nice.
Drive
That's the
up
South.
with your tractor and bug everybody while they're voting.
What is Blake rocking over there? He's got a giant bottle of something.
Vodka?
It looks like it.
Actually, rum, because, politics. Start drinking some rum.
Did you just take a giant pull from that bottle, or okay? You got the reserves.
I have another one.
Going hard.
The way your Twitter account's going, it seems like you go hard every night.
Yeah, man, you're living a rock star life there.
Seriously. Like every night he's like, I went and saw a show. It's 2 a.m. What's everyone doing? Drunk Twitter. Hear me out.
I'm not a social person. Most of the time when I tweet, it's after a show after I've been drinking.
One of these days, I'll have as much fun as you do, Blake.
Or, last night in which it's been a year in Denver. I still don't understand how cooking temperature works up here. So I'm
because
trying to
of the
make
altitude.
burgers and put them, and then a minute later, just charcoal smoke alarms going off, and I'm like, oh god. I live on the 8th story of an apartment building, so people around me are probably hearing this, and it's 8:30, 9ish. I'm like, oh shit.
Oh, man.
I see Dane has found our show notes sheet that is
Yeah.
a
We're
little
an
sparse tonight.
old married couple. Yeah, I was like, I guess I should probably read our show notes for tonight. Oh, never mind.
I don't really have... See, the following the theme of kicking it old school, I have some general questions on a legal pad here to ask.
Ooh, a legal
should the need
pad.
arise. Yeah, it's the only way to fly. But I'm hoping we get at least a few callers in. That'd be cool. So again, if you are watching the pre-show, we'll officially start the show in 8 minutes. We're going to do it at 9:30 on the dot. But if you're watching the pre-show and you want to join us, please do send us a direct message to Simp Elementary on Twitter and tell us your Gmail address. We're doing it through Hangouts on Air, so it has to be a Gmail address. And if you don't want to use Twitter, you can always do it through email. Just send that to simplyelementarypodcast@gmail.com. You can use call-in as the subject if you want, but I'm watching all the emails come in, so just send us an email with your Gmail address, and we'll get you on the list. Which right now has 0 people on the list. If you want to be the first caller...
Oh man, this is a hype show.
So hyped.
Going to get an air horn.
Well, let me check the poll last time, because last week when I announced it, I wanted to give people plenty of time to know that it was happening. And let me do some math here. Pull up a calculator. Let's see, 31. So we're supposed to have 8 callers tonight at least.
Yeah.
Out of the 31 people that voted, 26% say they plan to call in, so that's 8.06 people by my math.
Wow. Since we're not talking about techie elementary stuff at the moment, Dan, how are things with you? What's been going on in your life? You've been winning some disc golf tournaments or anything fun?
Let's see. I haven't done a tournament since the summer. I totally didn't win though. So I was played in the bottom last league, the total noob league, right?
Oh gosh.
And my goal was just don't be last, and I wasn't last. I was in the next card up from the last card. So I was top 20.
Okay. That's not
on the
bad.
amateur. Yeah.
That's not bad. Good job.
It's pretty all right. It's pretty
Good
all right.
job.
For
Yeah.
first one too.
Mhm.
So
You planning on doing any more?
I'm probably going to do the same tournament again this coming summer.
Okay.
So now I know what I need to work on, kind of thing. And
Okay,
so,
cool.
me and my buddies have been going out still. We actually went up and played a new place up in Chico pretty recently, and that was pretty cool. Lots of elevation changes. So it was a really interesting course. And then we went over to the Sierra Nevada Brewery right after that and did the tour. It was awesome.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So just living a kick-ass life, man.
Yeah, that's great.
So
Better-
it just occurred to me that I need to point this out. Now, listen, this is America. You're free
America.
to do as you want, but I want to point this out, that if you've not yet tweeted or retweeted the show or whatever, it might help if people want to do the call-in. So anyone that wants to tweet, I'm not going to stop you from tweeting.
I done did it twice already, so
America.
this is you.
Oh man, no, I want to watch AFV. I've not watched that in years. I don't like that Carlton is the host.
I am
I'm
going
gonna
to
be honest.
step away for a second. I got to get a power supply for this laptop.
That freedom
Okay.
hating, non-elementary running laptop Dane.
I will retweet.
He didn't even hear me call him out. That's disappointing.
I will retweet this tweet. It has been retweeted.
Thank you.
No
Way more
problem,
people
man.
follow you than us or me or anybody. So.
I did it from the brand account.
Oh, sweet. Well, that definitely more people follow that.
Yeah. Callers, hear me. Assemble.
I see airplanes in Dane's garage.
You see airplanes in his garage?
Yeah, up above him, I see airplanes. Yeah, maybe that's what we heard a minute ago.
No, those are not currently flying.
Oh, I see those. Okay.
There's
I was
it's
like,
it's a
what?
You guys thought I
pile.
was crazy.
I got 1,
Nathan's
2,
losing it.
3,
Seeing stuff.
4. I've got 4
Seeing
of them.
airplanes.
Yeah, that's my thing, man. I like RC planes.
All right, that's pretty dope.
I haven't been able to get out and fly much lately, but I've got a few of them that I like to take out every once in a while.
Hey, I see where Blake and Elementary just retweeted my tweet.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Tweet, tweet. Did anyone toot?
No.
That's I'm not sure if retweets automatically post on Mastodon from the elementary account or not.
I don't think so, but
I don't think so
I'll look.
either.
I don't know if I'm following Elementary there.
Gasp.
I cannot take that platform seriously. Like, it's everything that I want the platform to be, but I cannot use the phrase, I just tooted.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that feel the same way.
I just can't do it.
Did Elementary move accounts?
I think
So,
we're
like,
at Mastodon.social
Oh. Okay.
because everybody was like, Federation's great, and then all the servers like went down a week later.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, use the popular one.
That is the problem with Federation.
It's like,
in
it's
general.
decentralized.
All I see
Yeah.
is stuff from a week ago.
Uh-oh.
Man, your tweet really sent them running here. I see our numbers just climbing.
Are
Ooh.
they?
Yeah, hello everybody that is new. Please be sure if you want to join the show and ask Daniel or Blake or maybe Cassidy and maybe Santiago questions. Be sure to send us your Gmail address either in a direct message on Twitter to simpelementary or in an email to simplyelемentarypodcast@gmail.com. We will add you to the list.
This this midterm is crazy.
Stressing you out?
I'm not
A
even
little
watching
bit. Here in Texas, it's like the first time that a Democrat has had the possibility of overturning a Republican for senator. And probably not the first time. I don't know, but it seems like a first time in a long time, and it's close.
Seems like the House is neck and neck, and it seems like Republicans are winning the Senate.
Half of my ballot didn't even have a Democrat in the category.
That's sad.
The primaries basically decide the elections here.
Hmm.
Yep. That's life. Okay, it is 9:30, so I am going to let me reach out to Santiago one more time, and then we're going to get going because we want to be. We are nothing if not punctual here on this show.
Are we though?
Have you guys seen Designated Survivor?
No, I'm not.
So I've been binge watching that. It's like, we put an independent in the White House. Look how fair and reasonable he is.
Is that the Kiefer Sutherland thing? no?
I think that's his name.
Yeah,
I'm not good with names of actors.
he was in 24, and now
Yeah,
he's...
yeah. Yep,
Yeah.
that's him.
Yep. Okay. That looked like a pretty interesting show.
Oh, it's a good show, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, All right, cool. I sent a message to Santiago telling him to join whenever he wants, if he's still available. I've not heard from Cassidy yet if he will be able to do the tradesies at the end of the show. So this really is going to be just a total surprise all the way around for everybody.
Surprise.
Surprise. And, all right, there we go. I could not find my window, but I found it. We're good. Alrighty. Is everybody ready?
Sure.
Is everybody in studio mode?
Yes.
Good deal. All right. We've started the broadcast a while ago, so that's taken care of. That's recording.
Are we supposed to be recording our own local audio?
No, in theory, if we have callers, then there's no way for them to send us their audio and everything. So I'm basically just going to pull the audio from the YouTube archive.
Okie dokie.
Yep. All right, here we go. And through this whole thing, to the viewers out there, since this is a live recording, keep in mind that if we mess up or whatever, we will edit that out of the show. So no pressure to anybody here. We don't have to be perfect the first time through. We probably won't be. So here we go. All right, ready? This is Simply Elementary, the show that brings you all the ins and outs of the Elementary OS project. My name is Nathan Dyer, and I am joined, as always, by my podcast spouse, if you will, Mr. Dane Henson. Dane, how's it going?
I'm doing pretty good. It's a warm night here in Texas. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I feel civic pride in my heart.
Civic pride.
Civic
Okay.
pride. For those who are watching live or listening after the fact, we are recording on election night in the U.S. here, November 6th. So I just got back from going to the polls. What about you? Have you voted today, Dane? Are you a good, upstanding American?
You can't see it on the podcast because it's audio, but I voted. Check it out.
Man, why did you get...
I have a sticker.
They didn't give me a sticker.
You didn't give it... What?
I feel cheated. I mean, keep in mind, we
My
also
kid
filled
got
out
a
a
sticker,
paper
too.
ballot. So they don't ship in the stickers up here in the Blue Ridge Mountains.
I'll say I did a paper ballot here, and my kid got a sticker. Both my kids got stickers.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
All right, so this is the special Juno celebration show. We wanted to get as many of the elementary developers together as possible to talk about the Juno release and what they worked on and how that all went. And more importantly than just celebrating Juno, which of course is important enough, we wanted to do a listener call-in show to give people the opportunity to call into the show and talk to everybody and ask questions and that sort of thing. So if you would like to join the show, there are a couple ways you could do it if you're watching live. First off, you can send us a direct message on Twitter to Simp Elementary. Our DMs are open. Just send us your Gmail address and we'll add you to the list of callers. Or if you would rather use email instead of Twitter, you can always send us an email to simplyelementarypodcast@gmail.com. And for the subject line, put in something obvious like, I want to call in, or something where I know that that's the intent of the email. And we'll get you added to the list. So let's talk about our panel, Dane. Who do we have on the docket for today?
Well, I'm real excited. A lot of times we have kind of like some of the same people coming through this podcast, but we don't always have Mr. Blake as part of the web team, and he's joining us here. He's also from System 76, and he's been through hell this week, working on their new campaign and some extra heavy web traffic going to their website. How are things going with you, Blake?
Chaotic, actually. It's been a fun week. And by fun, I mean not so.
So it must have been a really crazy month for you, because first there was the Juno release, and I'm sure the traffic was crazy that day and everything, and then the System 76 Thalio announcement last week. I'm sure that you were just... You have to be that dog in the This Is Fine comic where everything's just on fire and you're rushing around. Is that accurate?
Pretty much, actually. For some reason, probably like 2 months ago, I decided it'd be a great idea for like October to be a month, kind of like take a couple of vacations, kind of chill out and whatnot. And turned out, no, not really. Come like right back out of vacation, and we have a release this week, and like just so much stuff happening right now.
Oh gosh. All right, hold on. We're going to take a little time out because I hear someone clicking. All right, so we'll edit this out of the show, but one of our mics is making clicky clicks.
Oh no.
So I'm going to
Is
go
it
through
me?
and mute people, and we're going to publicly shame whoever's doing the clicky clicks, okay? And I'm going to start with my suspicion first, okay?
What? Hello?
Did that work? I can still hear him. That didn't work. Oh. Okay, I still hear clicky clicks. It's not Dane. All right, we'll try
Yes.
Daniel. It was not Daniel. I'm going to try me. Uh-oh.
Oh boy.
Da, da, da.
All right, and Blake. It won't let me mute you, Blake. You have immunity.
Blake has god powers.
He's been blessed with immunity.
Okay. Do you guys hear that click, or is it just me and my earbuds?
I don't hear anything.
Yeah, I don't really hear it clicking. I think Dane's glorious beard bristling against the microphone a little bit.
Okay. All right, Blake, did you mute yourself? Is that okay? Good. Because I've been sitting here clicking the unmute button and it was just going crazy. All right, sorry about that. All right, so picking up where we left off. All right, so it's good to have Blake on the show, and we also have tonight the one, the only Daniel Frey. Daniel, how's it going?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. How you doing?
Doing fantastic. Now, I'm going to warn the listeners up front that Daniel has what we in the entertainment business like to call a hard out in about 30-ish, 45-ish minutes, I think. He's just going to duck out whenever he needs to. So if you would like to call and talk directly to Daniel, the man himself, please be sure and get your Gmail address to us either through a direct message or through the email as quickly as possible. Full instructions are in the doobly-doo below if you're watching on YouTube. But Daniel, it's wonderful to have you on the show. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, no problem. I like being here.
Well, we love having you. And we also love having Cassidy. Where the heck is Cassidy?
Where the heck is Cassidy?
So Cassidy James Blady, longtime friend of the show, was scheduled to come on, and he had some family show up from out of town. I'm going to use the word unexpectedly because that's my understanding of it, and so we're looking at him either getting him on later in the show or just getting him on some other time. We hope he can make it on the show, but if not, we totally understand. Maybe through the magic of editing, whenever Daniel has to slip out, we can just replace them. You know, it's
No one can replace either one of them.
that's true,
In-
but
in
they
my book.
can't exist in the same place at the same time, or else the universe will implode.
That's true.
And then I also want to point out, I don't know if he's going to be able to join us or not, but there's a chance that Santiago Leon is going to join us. He is a desktop developer that focuses on internationalization. Man, what a word is internationalization.
You
So,
did perfect with that.
Thank you very much. So for anyone that wants to ask about internationalization, translations, locales, that sort of thing, he will be the guy to go to. So we hope we're able to get him on. He may just show up in the middle. Who knows? So this episode is going to be pretty loose and fun. We're just going to talk and chat, and people are going to come and go, and life will be good. How does that sound, Dane?
That sounds really great to me. I love having a casual show.
Good. Excellent. All right, so I'm going to throw out the first question, and then I'm going to kind of zone out for a minute while I check our inboxes and everything to see if anyone else has replied. So I apologize for being a rude host in advance here. But the first question that I have, I'll kick us off. How does it feel to finally have Juno out in the wild where the public at large is using it? How does it feel? We'll start with Daniel. How does it feel?
Oh, it's good, man. It's really nice. We've been working on a lot of this stuff for a long time, and it gets sometimes to a point where you get people that are sending in issue reports and things, and they're like, oh, like this is fixed in Juno, or we redesigned this. It's so much better now. Like, just hang on, and you'll see like the new version of this totally addressed everything that you're talking about right now. Like, we know about that, and it's coming, and just be patient. So I'm glad that we were able to finally get it out and show people everything that we've been working on. The reviews have been super positive, and it's just I feel like now we have this whole new cycle like opened up. Like, this isn't the end, this is the beginning of the Juno cycle, and we have all this opportunity to just keep rolling out cool new stuff.
That sounds excellent. What about you, Blake? How does it feel to have this out in the world? The craziness of the release day is now behind you. Is that a good feeling?
That is an amazing feeling. Like, one of the biggest things about all of the development process is that you're usually on the daily channels, So you notice like the small incremental changes for like the year or however long development process is, but it's so awesome to see it just new people just new install. Here's all of the new things at once, and it's like, oh, this is so well done differently, and like new features and all that stuff.
And it also helps that Cassidy got his NaNoWriMo month out of the way with the, the announcement post that he did. That was an epic, really. I mean, it took me a couple evenings to get through that sucker. So it's nice to have that one resource where you go to and be like, oh yeah, I forgot that was a new thing, because, you know, like you say, we're kind of used to using it, but it's impressive to see it all at once. What was it like the day of the release? Because I know, Blake, that you're kind of the go-to web guy. Was everything on fire and crazy, and were you pulling out your hair?
Yes. So I was actually not at my house during release. I was in Phoenix in the middle of vacation. So I obviously knew release was coming and all that stuff. So I'm like all set up and whatnot. But underestimated how much resources the server would need to like deploy all the changes and all the configuration changes and all that stuff. And with most great websites, it lives behind a bunch of caching, so we don't have to spend that much money on server power for serving all that stuff. Anyway, building all that stuff and launching turned out to put a bunch of fires up, and I'm like running around trying to fix things.
And it had to
Yeah,
feel
it
like
was crazy.
deja vu for you, because, you know, the day of the Juno release, you're looking at Reddit. I think it was the #1 post on our Linux, at least for a short time. I think we actually, I don't know if we can say this on a family-friendly podcast, but I think we actually beat some cam girl post or something. What, Daniel, what's the story of that one? You're more familiar with this cam girl post than I am. What's the deal?
I'm not familiar with this.
So it was the #1 post on our Linux about how this guy's girlfriend is a cam girl and he set her up to do her shows using Linux. So this is the top post. Juno comes out and it just rockets past it and just smashes it out of the way. So that felt pretty good.
More popular than naked ladies. Let it be
That's
known.
right.
Wow. So that's awesome. So yeah, at the top of the our Linux post, and all of a sudden, you know, you start seeing comments of, "Oh, your website's not working. Everything's down." You know, were you happy to see that, or were you kind of like, "Oh man, I can't believe this is going down"? I would be happy personally that it's so popular that it's like everything's on fire.
Well, it was kind of Blake's problem to fix. I was like,
Yeah.
this is great. Fix it.
So like at one side it's like, wow, that's a lot of traffic. That's pretty amazing. But as a developer, when you're like working trying to fix it and you just get these notifications like one every 2 minutes, like, hey, it's still down, fix it. Hey, what's going on? Can I do anything? It's like, nope, working, just ignore me one moment.
And it was fun for me because I was able to get access to the torrent magnet link before the public at large was. So I went ahead and at work, I'm not admitting this is not an admission of guilt, but in a theoretical world at work, a lot of our production servers I threw on a torrent client, put on the magnet link, and I started serving those things with a gigabit pipe provided by the state of North Carolina. So, and then just watching that, it was interesting because people were refreshing the page, people were going to the beta page and finding this link, and all of a sudden, even though we weren't released yet, you could start seeing the numbers go up. And it's like, oh, I'm seeding this to people that are sneaking in early. So that was pretty exciting too. So awesome. I'm really pleased with the way that the launch went. I hope you guys are. So obviously it launched. What I want to talk about now is, what is the reception? Has the what is the public opinion? Have the reviews been good? Are people happy, upset? What are you guys hearing? And we'll start with Daniel.
So, and I said this when somebody else asked about it, was the people who liked Loki love Juno, and the people that hated it hate it even more.
Wow.
So I think that's good though, because it's, you know, it just shows that we're going the same direction. Like, we didn't have a massive pivot or anything, you know, and the users that we're targeting and the people who like what we're doing, like, we listened to them and their feedback and like gave them all the things that they were asking for.
Awesome. And that really is the whole, I've said it before and I'll say it again, and I'll probably get in trouble for saying it because one of the things things that annoys me to no end, so it has to annoy you guys, is the constant comparison to Apple and to Mac and all that
Right.
stuff. So I hesitate to do this. However, the Snow Leopard release of a decade ago, everyone loved Snow Leopard because there weren't any new features. Apple just focused on polish and making it as stable as possible. And that's kind of here. I mean, there are a ton of new features in Juno, but at the same time, it's a really polished experience. So I have previously called this our Snow Leopard release, and I'm sticking to it. So whether you guys hate it or not, I think that's fair. What have you seen, Blake? Have you been happy with the response of it?
I've been loving the response. Honestly, from what I've seen, like people that loved Loki, loved Juno. Even the people that hated Loki like Juno more. I won't go as far as saying like love Loki. There are always people that are like, I want my Arch or my Gentoo or whatever, insert X distro here. But from what I've read selectively, there's a lot of like noticing the fine details and refinements and a lot of like the small features that are more power user friendly, I would say. And I know some people hate that word as like power users, but from what I've read, there's more kind of acceptance into what Juno is, which is really nice.
You know, I've kind of noticed that too. Every review that I've read has been overwhelmingly positive, or at least almost every review I've read. The few that weren't overwhelmingly positive still had great things to say. It just most of the time was, I can't customize this, or this doesn't match the other system that I have used forever, so that's why I don't like it. Those are most of the complaints. Now, to be fair, to put out my journalistic integrity and pretend that I'm actually a journalist or, have integrity, on the subreddit, is it fair to say that the subreddit's been kind of a, what's a good word to use here? It's been interesting. The subreddit has been a lot more tech supporty questions and complaints. I would say that every review I read was positive, but most of the subreddit posts have been complaints or whatever. So without getting Daniel into trouble, do you have thoughts on that?
Yeah, so basically I think what it is a lot of people that are new to elementary OS, a lot of first-time users that aren't familiar with kind of like how the community is organized, and they don't really know where to like voice their questions and concerns. So I have noticed, though, that a lot of people on the subreddit have been trying to direct people to Stack Exchange and show them, like, hey, this is the place to ask questions and get help and to learn how to do things.
It's much closer.
But I think that as far as, like, some of the issue report stuff, that, well, we actually did have to kind of, like, make it official subreddit rule to say, this isn't the place to push issue reports, and like make sure that we have a prominent link to GitHub and let people know that like this is where you need to go to interact with developers. And posting issue reports in the subreddit isn't going to get those issues in front of the people that know how to solve them. It's just going to kind of bury and drown out like other community members that want to talk and interact and socialize. Yeah,
absolutely. And I will say that one of the one of the really positive things and one of the really awful things, like combined here, is that we have, and this is the awful thing that I'm about to say, is that I've seen a few commenters in the past couple weeks who have been like straight up racist or just really toxic and everything. And as awful as that is and as terrible as it is to interact with them, it was a really good chance for the code of conduct to be really applied, and it has some weight behind it. Because at first, I know that I, as a moderator on the subreddit and just in general looking in the community channel on Slack and stuff, there was some worry at first, like, well, we don't want to ban this guy, we don't want to get rid of him because he's, or whoever, I think there were a couple people, we don't want to remove someone just because they don't like it. We don't want to be the people who censor or who do anything like that. Like, it's totally fine if you don't like the release or you have a complaint about it. Like, everybody has a criticism. Even people who love it have criticisms of it. But then once it was openly racist and toxic and stuff, just stepping in and doing the right thing and getting rid of the toxic people and making it a good community and following the code of conduct, it was a good it was a good opportunity to show that it's enforced and that we try to keep the community as lovely as possible. Is that fair to say, Daniel?
Yeah, totally. And I think like you're right that it's good to reemphasize that point that we never moderate away people just because they disagree or they have criticisms or things like that. Like people should always feel like that they have a voice and that they can tell people what their concerns are and that we're here to listen. But we also want to make sure that our communities are always respectful and that people treat each other nicely and fairly and that it's a constructive place to be.
Absolutely. So the next question that is on my list, and I'm going to check again here to make sure that nobody else has wanted to jump in. For those of you who have joined us midstream here, if you would like to join us on air and ask questions, we would love to have you on. Be sure to send a direct message to Simp Elementary on Twitter and give us your Gmail address, or send us an email to simplyelementarypodcast@gmail.com, and we'll get you added to the list and get you on here. But before I kind of disappear for a minute and check all that, the big question is, what is next for Juno? I know that you've said that a new cycle has begun. This is the start of something. What is it the start of? What is coming down the pipeline?
So actually, the very first thing I think that'll come as updates is we started a little project because there had been a lot of questions and talk about keyboard shortcut discoverability. And so in the Juno release already, we now have the shortcut cheat sheet that pops up when you hit the super key. But we wanted to also make a way for shortcuts to be discoverable in applications. So we came up with a new design pattern and we built a little utility for Granite so that whenever you hover over any of like toolbar icons or header bar icons, or we're even looking at different labeled buttons in different areas that will show the shortcut accelerators in the tooltip for those. So it's just a really a way to make shortcuts more discoverable in applications.
So things like this, going back to Blake's point before, talking about how it seems like Juno is a little bit more friendly to power users, the mythical power user. I feel like what that means to me, and what I've seen in Juno and in Elementary, is that you have a lot of features that, especially with this, like this makes it so that things are more discoverable. So you can have people that don't like to have their hands leave the keyboard. There's a lot of people that love to click around the interface, and things are really easy to find that way. And maybe eventually to really have great first-party support for like touchscreens and that kind of stuff. But for those that want to continue to use their keyboards, you've got stuff like that. But there's features in Juno that I would say make it's not necessarily the power user is mythical, but it's more that the features are powerful, like that they just work. You've got a lot of really cool things that that people may not really see on the surface until they start to use the OS, and then it just kind of does what they expect it to do. And they go, oh, that's really cool and powerful, and I hadn't either I was about to do that or I hadn't thought to do that, and it did it for me, or that kind of thing. I don't know. What would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would say that like one of our big focuses for Juno especially was on productivity features and like pro use case features, and shortcuts is a big part of that. And the nice thing too is that it's not only like a productivity feature, but it's also an accessibility feature, because there are some users who interacting with the interface through keyboard shortcuts is the most comfortable way for them to do it.
Yeah, that's a great point. There again, you're always thinking from different angles and trying to make sure that everybody is covered. So that's awesome.
And I know another thing that I saw is that you guys are working on new categories and new designs for the App Center. Is that still is that something that's going to come up in an update to Juno, or is that something for Juno +1?
No, it's definitely a Juno update. Cassidy has been working on that stuff. He has a project set up in GitHub about making it easier to browse applications in App Center. And so one of the things that he wanted to tackle as part of that project was reevaluating the categories that we expose on the homepage and seeing how we can present more useful ones and order them better maybe, and things like that. So that's a really interesting project that he's working on.
Now, is
Cool.
that something that's just visible to elementary users, or is that something you're having to help like push things upstream? Like, how is that work being done?
So it uses the freedesktop.org .desktop specification and all the categories that are in there. There has been a little bit of talk, not really serious yet, but some kind of like, hey, this is something we should do about maybe reaching out through Free Desktop and trying to propose into new categories, because it seems like the specification hasn't been updated in a while, and there are new classes of applications to deal with, like especially like social applications and things like that aren't really handled by the spec. So if we could make it easier for developers to categorize their application so that users can discover it, that would be beneficial not only to App Center and elementary OS users, but also to any platform that is using like the .desktop specification.
Yeah, because I look at the categories and they, I recognize that they're the same ones that you used to scroll through the menu in like old school Ubuntu, like Hardy Heron or something like that. So I would like to think that we use our computers differently 11 years down the road than we did back in 2007. So it would be nice to see something fresh there. Are there any other big features coming down the pipeline that you all are working on or that you all want to talk about?
Yeah, one of the huge ones right now actually is we're rewriting Mail. We're rewriting Mail from the ground up, and it's being built on Camel, which is the mailing backend for Evolution. And Camel supports like all different types of accounts and stuff, like all the Exchange and OAuth authentication for Google and like all that kind of good stuff. So the new Mail is going to be built on that backend instead of the Geary mailing engine, and it's just a full rewrite that's all totally modern code and all our like latest design patterns and stuff. So that's going to be real good.
That's cool.
So-
And am I safe to presume that since it has the new backend, that you'll be able to sign in using Pantheon Online accounts and it just automatically pull in all that stuff?
Yeah, so that's the plan, is to not even handle accounts through Mail. It'll just redirect you to system settings, and you'll use that to manage your online accounts. So we'll just have it all in one place, and we won't be duplicating that UI.
Sweet. I'm super excited to hear that. Dane, did you have a question? I think I cut you off.
No, it sounds like that's just a back end thing, but you guys are completely rewriting the front end as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it has like overall a lot of the same design patterns as the existing Mail does, but like we've done a lot of stuff already in the composer with like showing and hiding additional fields and kind of rearranging some different buttons and things like that to really try to make it a smoother workflow.
Now, is this going to affect Calendar in any way? Is Calendar getting any kind of rewrites from? Because I know there's a little bit of bleed over from productivity between the two apps.
So I think that Calendar already does tie into Evolution as a back end, but I don't know if there's like a full rewrite or anything that anybody's talked about. But Dane, you started working on Calendar a little bit, so you tell me, are you working on Calendar?
I was just curious if there was anyone else. I've been AWOL for a few weeks now, and yeah, during Hacktoberfest, I decided to work a little bit on Calendar. And I know there's it's a great app, but there's a lot that needs to be done. And I guess my main concern is with that back end being able to just add online accounts in the preferences and be able to see that in Calendar. So I don't know, if you need somebody, I could probably try to help you guys out there, but.
Yeah, it's definitely, as someone who uses the calendar a lot all day for work, I believe it does, like you guys said, hook into EDS and everything, so all that back end is already there. But so here you go, guys. Here's a criticism of Elementary OS. The login experience is kind of sucky for Calendar, because if you don't already have the account, you have to click the gear, and then like you type in your email address in some really janky looking text box, and like it pops up a security thing. It's like, put in your password here. We swear this is a legit widget. So I'm excited to see that get moved over to Pantheon Online accounts and that populate it instead of the really sketchy not really sketchy, but the slightly sketchy way that it is right now.
It is really sketch, and I was actually looking at that the other day. I have some open pull requests, Dan, if you want to review Stay Tuesday me.
I would
But,
love to. Yeah.
But yeah, that's one thing we definitely need to do is move all of the calendaring sign-in stuff into online accounts like your CalDAV and those regular stuff. But I don't think that there's a plugin yet for signing into accounts to plug them into like the Evolution data server components. But if you actually open up Evolution and like log into your Gmail account and then click like, yeah, I want to sync calendars, like it'll pull in like all the calendars and everything. Like right now, when you sign into your Gmail account, it only pulls in like the regular calendar. But if you go through Evolution, you'll get all the calendars and it's all just magic and it works. So fixing that sign-in process and smoothlining it or streamlining it and would be like a huge goal, and it would make that just way more pleasant.
It sounds like I may have some work ahead of me. I don't know what I've gotten myself into.
All right.
All right.
So I want to jump in, and I don't know when Daniel has to take off. It may not be for a while, but it may be soon. So I want to jump in now and just put him on the spot and ask, Juno, we've started a new cycle and all that. It's wonderful. We have a new cycle and everything, but the word Juno, it's kind of an old word now, right? This thing has been released. So has there been any discussion about the new code name for whatever comes after Juno?
What are you naming it, Blake?
All the pressure.
No pressure.
Blake just got a huge migraine.
Yeah,
you didn't
I'm not
already
quite
have
good
one,
with,
I guess.
Gods.
This is where you can hear him going to Google and typing, what are... Is it Greek gods? Is that what we go with? Or
What are gods?
No.
It's real philosophical real quick.
We can always change it like we did for ISIS that one time. So.
Oh, yeah.
Get hype.
And, reflecting back on that decision, how good of a decision was that?
To change it?
To change it from ISIS?
Oh, I think it was a great decision.
Oh,
'Cause
it
when
was-
when we first said, oh, we're gonna change this, because somebody brought it up that there was like this organization, and people were like, oh, that's never gonna be a news story. Like, don't do that. Like, if you do that, the terrorists win.
I remember that.
Yeah, I remember it being a big discussion, but looking back on it now, it's like, I can't believe there was any discussion whatsoever. Like, it was such a good call.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so, but this is a good question to follow that because it's a little bit retrospective and a little bit looking towards the future. What did you all learn, and this is for Daniel or Blake or anybody, what did you all learn on the working to get Juno released? So I know we're still on the Juno cycle, but what did you learn in the past, we'll say 2 years, that impacts what you're going to do going forward? So what would you do differently knowing now what you didn't know back then?
You want to go first, Blake, or?
Mine's pretty simple. Provision more servers. Simple as that. Prepare a little bit more.
I like it.
Yeah. Less downtime.
Well, let me ask you, Blake. I know we're kind of in the middle of a question, but has that traffic tapered off quite a bit, or is there still a decent amount of flow, or what are you seeing?
Honestly, I have not actually looked at analytics.
I know there's still some buzz going on, but I'm sure it's quite a bit less than it was.
Yeah, ask Dan, and then ask me in like 2 minutes after I look at analytics.
Okay, Dan, what have you learned?
So I think my major takeaway throughout the Juno cycle, because one of my big focuses was on trying to pay back technical debt and fix a lot of the deprecations and things like that, and there's still a long ways to go. There's still a lot of technical debt to pay back. There's a lot of legacy code. There's a lot of things that could be done way better, and especially working with the Fedora guys especially has shown that there's a lot of Ubuntuisms in our code and things that just could be done way smarter, way better, way more efficiently. So there's a ton of room to grow. There's a ton of way to improve technically. So it's not like we're going what do we work on next? Like, there's a lot to do still.
That's awesome. And going back to Dane's question, we kind of had questionception there for a second, but going back to the has it tapered off or anything, I want to ask just in general as a third-party developer, and this is kind of something you'd mentioned earlier, what are the stats for third-party developers? Has it been a boom for business to have a new release out, or what have you noticed in terms of payments and that sort of thing?
So, App Center, like at the moment, as far as revenue, is still kind of a charity project. I think that, I can't remember the exact cost for the servers and stuff. Blake probably knows better than I do, but I think that it's still kind of just pays for its own costs. I don't think that it actually turns a profit right now.
Okay. So, Dane, you said you have agenda on the App Center. Have you noticed anything more since Juno's been released?
Well, I saw a tiny blip. It was about 3 sales, I think, and then that was it. I did see. So, I mean that sucks. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, three's not great. Let's be real.
Three's not great. Yeah. But I did see a bump in bug reports, official bug reports on GitHub. I didn't get anyone coming to me on Twitter or anything that was like, "Hey, this is broken." But there were a lot of great suggestions that were given to me. I haven't had a chance to work on them yet, but that was nice to see that that it was received well. People actually in their bug report said, "I really like this app, but I wish that this was fixed or this was a little bit different." So that's been nice.
Awesome. And I've noticed, so I released Vocal Sunday night as we're recording. This is a Tuesday, so there have been 2 days worth of sales and downloads for Vocal. But I've noticed, I think at this point, I've sold $20. So I guess that's 4 of the $5 purchases because that's the suggested price. So that's pretty nice. I mean, it bought my lunch today. So anytime
Nice.
that it buys my lunch, I love it. So it was really nice to see that. We actually have a caller. Daniel, do you have enough time to stick around for at least this caller?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, let's get him on. This is exciting.
Ooh.
Here we go. All right, so it may take a second. We will edit out the awkward pauses in the final episode because it may take our caller a minute to come on. But we'll be watching for him.
Yeah. From a third-party perspective, I feel like I have noticed an uptick in payments for my apps. It seems like I'm getting more little notifications. It's still not like amazing, but it's like, oh, like another person bought an app today. Like, nice.
And this is the thing that I think is still underrated. I mean, I know it's talked about a decent bit, but it's underrated that this is basically the first time that third-party developers have ever been able to easily sell their product on the Linux desktop, period. So it's every time I sell one, I just, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just did that. So it is definite progress.
Going back to the website traffic, we are still above average. Even, what is it, about a month later?
Oh, wow.
Awesome. All right, so I see we have a new caller on the line. Caller, welcome to Simply Elementary. What is your name?
Hi, my name is Felix.
Hi, Felix. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So do you have a question or a comment? What do you have?
I think I have 2 comments, maybe.
Okay, sure.
This is so weird. The first one is on accessibility. You were talking about accessibility and power users like maybe 15 minutes ago, and I like to think that maybe everyone can be a power user. It's just up to the designer to give them like wings that they can use. And so I like that. The people at Elementary, you guys, are really focused. English is not my mother language.
No worries.
You're doing great. You're
I
doing
can barely
awesome.
speak English too, so everything's fine.
I like that you focus on accessibility so much because for me it's really important. And my second question is related to that as well. So I have had RSI problems with my hands,
Okay.
and I use an old app. It's called Workrave, like with a sheep, and maybe you know it, maybe not, but it just tells you to stop, every so often.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Like every maybe 5 minutes or 10 minutes, it tells you please take a small pause, and also like every 1 hour or so it tells you, okay, please go take a walk, like stretch, do exercise, so on, because that's good for you, and that helps me a lot. But the app is really old, and it kind of works in elementary, and so I was thinking like maybe I can make a replacement for that. And I know barely anything about Vala.
Yep. Vala.
Yeah, volley. Yep.
And so, but I think I'm a good programmer. Like, so how hard is it to get started with that? Because I would love to like make it and release it for elementary at least.
Yeah, I mean, I might be a little biased, but I think it's pretty easy to go through. Honestly, when I started working on the developer guide at that time, I didn't really have that much desktop development experience. I had been working like almost entirely just design side, and but that was something that I felt like we really needed to have, was a guide of how to build an app beginning to end. So I kind of went through and talked to everyone and like got all the information together and started working on. And so writing that guide was like kind of the beginning of my journey into learning how to build the application. So I hope that it has that perspective of not really knowing how all this stuff works and what's important to know to get you from point A to point B. So if you pop over to developer.elementary.io and check out that getting started guide, that should give you all the tools that you need. And if you feel stuck or lost, or it doesn't do, what you were looking for, that you can always join the community Slack, and there's tons of people there that are always like talking about programming questions, and you can get help at any time.
Okay, awesome. Okay, I will, after this semester ends, and I have free time again, I will.
Awesome.
I will try it.
So are you at university? Are you studying computer science, or what are you studying?
Yes, computer science. It's my 9th year. Like I study in Chile, and in Chile we have like very long careers for some reason. But this is my last semester.
Nice.
Congrats.
Awesome. Yeah, congrats. That's great.
And so, yeah. And one last thing, because you guys probably don't have that much time. I really like elementary, and I think mainly for 2 things, or maybe 3. Like the third would be accessibility, but the second and the first are it looks good and it is consistent, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate that. Like, yeah, I don't know. Many people say like, whatever how it looks, like I just need a computer that follows my instructions. But I realized I like pretty things, and and I'm grateful for your work, guys. I really am.
I really appreciate you saying that. That means a lot. It's always really cool to hear feedback like that. That does mean a lot. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, Felix, we're going to let you go. Thank you so much for coming on. We're glad to have you. It's been good talking to you.
Thank you for having me. Bye, guys.
All right, see ya.
See ya.
Awesome. Well, it was good to have Felix on. All right, so
I'll say, just to add to what he, when he was talking about, trying to write his first app, he says he's a good developer, and I believe him. When I started to write Agenda, I was not a good developer. I just thought that there was a mock-up I saw, and I said, this looks beautiful, this needs to be an actual app, and I'm just going to try and see if I can do it. And that was before there was even really any kind of a guide. And so I would say that with the tools that are available now, with balladoc.org and the guide that you guys have written up, it's so much easier to become an app developer. Even if you're not a good developer, it's still just, you can just jump in and get started right away. So
Yeah, and Felix has a leg up because I feel, and I'm biased here because I teach AP Computer Science and I actually have to kind of guide students and stuff. But in my humble opinion, the problem that I see with most developers, because you'll get people in there excited like, oh, I want to write an app, and they've never had any programming experience whatsoever, and there's only so much that really good documentation and really helpful communities can give you. And I will say that the elementary documentation for developers is the absolute best Linux documentation I've ever seen, and it's really the best general documentation I've ever seen, second only maybe to the stuff that Apple puts out with Swift and everything, because that's a really good developer guide. But even with that, the people that struggle the most are the ones that don't have a strong programming background and everything. So I always, my advice is that you learn the basics of programming, learn how loops work, and learn some of the basic data structures. You don't have to be an amazing, whiz at computer science, but once you have the basics of programming down, it's going to be so much easier to pick up a language. And I always people always look at Vala like it's some crazy alien language, but really it's so close to C# or Java or anything like that. So if you have experience with that, if you have the basics of programming down, you're going to do wonderful at elementary development, because the guide is so easy, the community is so great. That's really all that's standing in your way. So I have no doubt that Felix is going to make something really amazing, since he has that background, and with the documentation and everything, it's going to work out great. Is that fair to say?
I think so. I'm glad he called in.
I'm very glad he called in too. All right, awesome. So I'm going to check and make sure no one else is waiting on the line. Doesn't look like they are. So Daniel, we still good with time?
Yeah, I think I got time for one more question, probably.
One more question. All right, let's make it a good one then. So I got to make it a go. I got to look through my whole list here and pick out the gem.
The best one. The best question.
I mean, really, we've hit all the questions I wanted to hit at. So I'll ask you probably your least favorite question. I'm not going to ask you. I'm not going to ask you when the next update for Juno comes out, or the next major version. But what kind of timetable in general are we looking at? Is it going to take a year for a Juno update? Is it going to take a month? I mean, what are we looking at?
So I think basically what we did for that during the last cycle is, users will get kind of regular updates as they go. Like, it might be like a couple weeks, or it might be like a month or whatever. Like, you'll just kind of get updates as things come out. And as far as like a new ISO release, I think that last cycle what we did was we followed like the Ubuntu point releases, because that's when they bring out like the new hardware stack and stuff like that. So that way you'll get the latest hardware stack on the new ISO, just in case your computer's new and it couldn't boot the last one, and then you'll get all the updates that were released up to that time.
Awesome. That's a really good answer. There's always good stuff coming down the pipeline, so there's no excuse not to be running Juno and not to be installing updates. And actually, that brings me, I'll ask this as a last partial question. I've seen a few people, especially on Twitter, who say they don't want to update to Juno. What do you say to that? Is it reasonable that they want to stick on Loki? Why should they update to Juno?
So I know that it can be hard to like back up and reinstall, especially if you've done a lot of like customization to your system, but it is totally worth it because the performance and stability are way better. And there's just so many little nice features that we've added. And you might think like, oh, I don't really care about like all these little pro user things, right? But once you get used to the idea of like, oh, I can just middle click on any indicator to like turn that thing off or on, then you realize like there's so many little productivity features like that it makes it super worth it. And there's so many things that we've done just to make things more discoverable and help you figure out like all the little quick shortcuts that are embedded in the operating system.
Awesome. That's a good answer, and I would agree with that. Juno is such a terrific update. It would it is a pain in the butt to have to back up all your stuff and everything, and I totally get that. But hard drives are cheap, flash drives are cheap. It's worth it. Make the investment in both time and equipment, and do it because it's totally worth it. And you're going to get the newest apps, and in general, it's just wonderful. Daniel, I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. Do you have anything you want to tell everybody, by the way?
Well, I always got to plug and let people know that everything is 100% open source, all of it, and everything's up on GitHub. And whether you have a ton of experience or a little bit of experience or no experience at all, like, you have the opportunity to make Elementary OS what you want it to be. You can be the change you want to see. And so if you want to get involved, go to elementary.io/get-involved. And we have a page with a list of tons of things that you can check out and ways that you can make a difference. So empower yourself and make some cool stuff.
Absolutely. All right, and I'm going to plug for you on your behalf. I've been listening to the User Error Show, which you are a regular panelist on, we'll call you. And it's one of the absolute best podcasts I've ever listened to. I catch it every single time it comes out. So if you've not listened to Daniel on User Error, make sure you check it out at error.show, which I still think is a really weird URL, but whatever. Error.show, and it's you can also find it in Vocal, your local neighborhood podcast app.
There you go. Now available on Juno, right?
Absolutely. It's
Nice.
there. It's hot. Go get it.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Daniel. We really appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We'll see you.
All right. See you guys later.
All right, see
See
ya.
ya.
So I'm gonna check in real quick with Cassidy and see if he's able to come on. If not, we'll start wrapping it up. We'll also check if there are any last minute questions. Blake is still here. Blake is he is an absolute genius and a wizard. I have no qualms about calling him either of those things. So if you want to talk technical, if you want to get the inside scoop on anything, there is still time to call in. And I'm also going to check real quick and see if perhaps Cassidy is available. I don't know that he is, just because family,
Yeah, family.
Surprise family. The best
Always
kind of family.
So I will let me check. There's one more topic I wanted to talk about. Actually, I guess two that are less elementary related. So now that we got Daniel out of the way, and now that Cassidy's a whatever. We've got a System 76 guy here. You know that, Dane?
Oh boy.
We do. We have a System 76 guy, and we can hammer him with questions.
We certainly can. So I want to, for those of you who don't know and you've not seen it, they've announced their new Thalio. I guess you would say a line of relatively open hardware computers. It's not fully open, but it's basically fully open. The designs for the Thalio, yeah, I mean the designs for everything
open.
are totally open. So if someone wants to go out and make the same, first of all, the case is gorgeous on these things. There's like a wood panel. It matches the turntable I wanted to get. So very soon I might live in a world where my turntable matches my my desktop case, which would be wonderful. But System 76 has been so devoted to openness. They've got the open design for the case. They have a new daughter board, which is my understanding kind of bypasses some of the more proprietary junk that Intel has been hammering in here lately. So, and that's all completely open. So as much as possible, they're chipping away at the closed parts of the desktop and going with the open parts. So, how involved have you been with all that, Blake, and what do you think about it?
As a web developer, not hugely involved company side. I do get a little bit of the inside scoop and whatnot. But we've been going through revisions of like the case design since before I was even part of the company. So finally getting to see this out in the open and share it with everyone is pretty awesome. Like I said, case side is a kind of wood finish to it.
It's gorgeous.
Take a look at like the walnut one. It's really awesome, super dark, and
Walnut's
I
my
like
favorite
dark
too.
cases.
And you can confirm or deny this. I have heard rumors that where the power supply exhaust is, the grill, I've been told that the planets are on there in a special orientation or a special alignment. Is that true? Are there actual planets on the grill of the exhaust?
There are planets on multiple of the grills, and they may or may not be in a particular space where if you really want to get technical and figure that out, it might be something super nerdy.
Awesome. Yeah, well, we'll let the listeners figure that out, mainly because I read it and couldn't remember what it is, so I'll get to
did
rediscover
see-
that too.
I was following the viral campaign that they had going on, and I downloaded a couple of they had, as we've been saying, it's open, so they had a lot of the CAD designs downloadable before they even announced the full desktop. So I got a chance to look at some of the grills that we're talking about. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool
Yeah,
stuff.
Definitely.
It's pretty darn sweet. All right, and then the other topic I wanted to ask, moving gears away from System 76. Right, who cares about Elementary or System 76 now? All right, the Linux ecosystem in general, something big happened, and I'm wondering if maybe it's me, maybe I'm the only one that actually cares about this. It's entirely possible, but the giant IBM acquisition of Red Hat. Have you all been following that story?
I have not, honestly.
It looks like Blake has a little bit because he had the same expression that I had. What are your
I
thoughts,
haven't really
Blake?
been following it. I've heard other people talk about it. I've heard whispers, like reasons for them buying Red Hat and whatnot. None of them that substantial to me, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just it's kind of a bummer for me. I'll be honest. I know a lot of people are trying to play it up and be positive and not try to spread FUD or anything about it. But for one, I'm a North Carolinian, and here in North Carolina, Red Hat is an institution. It's been here forever, and I hate to see it no longer remain independent just because it is such a staple of North Carolina here, particularly in the Raleigh area, which I'm nowhere near, but still, it's the same state, and I'm claiming it. Okay. But not just in that, the Linux ecosystem in general. I mean, I know that we are. It's almost fair to say. I think it's fair to say that in the Linux world there are two camps. There's the Red Hat camp and the Canonical camp, and everything either trickles down in the Debian pipeline, the canonically Debian universe, or in the RPME Red Hat CentOS Fedora E world. I know that's not exactly true because you have like Arch and all this stuff, but in my
it's close.
narrative,
Yeah, I see it.
yeah, it's basically one or the other. And the truth of the matter is, we're a Debian-based system. We are an Ubuntu-based system, so we don't touch the Red Hat stuff a lot. But one thing that Red Hat does is they contribute quite a lot to GTK development. They provide development time and developers and financial backing and sponsorships. I mean, they do a lot for GTK specifically, which we are utterly dependent on. So I'm sure Red Hat will continue to be awesome, and it's probably a smart move because IBM wants to beef up their public cloud game.
Yeah.
But it's just, I hate seeing that Red Hat's no longer independent. So I'm bummed. I'll be honest. I'm bummed.
I have no dog in the fight, so I couldn't say one way or the other, but I can definitely understand your hesitation there. There have been a lot of acquisitions, not a lot, but a few acquisitions recently that people have frowned upon that have turned out to be okay.
Drawing parallels to GitHub.
Right. Yes, exactly.
And
GitHub.
how great has GitHub been? Like, the new features they've been adding the past month have been phenomenal. I mean, moving issues between projects and like duplicate issue detection. I mean, some of this stuff is just, it's getting
Yeah.
really good.
It makes me wonder if they had all these like in the pipeline behind some flags or something, just waiting to release to the public. Microsoft's just like, nah, release all the features.
That if that's the case, that someone's really pissed that they had that just sitting and waiting, and then all of a sudden Microsoft comes in and just like, hey guys, look what we did. We're awesome.
But there's so many features for like, what has it been? A month or a couple of months?
I want to
don't
say
know,
that it's
I'm
only
bad
been
at time.
like they've announced it. They announced it a few months ago, but I think like the official merger happened like a week ago or something. Because I saw something about it on Twitter. Like it's the official acquisition thing has only been truly in effect for about a week or maybe two, but it's unreal. So the timing is interesting on that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Awesome. All right, so I'm going to we're wrapping up the show here. I'm going to give our listeners one more chance. This is it. All right, you guys, get your act together. If you want to talk to us, I'm just playing, guys. If you want to talk to us, do it right now. You can send us a direct message to Simp. I'm getting tired. I can't remember stuff. Simp Elementary. Or you can send an email to simplyelementarypodcast@gmail.com. Just give us your Gmail address, like Felix did. Be like Felix. That was an absolute pleasure getting to talk to him.
Loved it.
It was great. So if you want to get on that, please go ahead and do that. This feels like I'm selling those CDs that you used to see on infomercials. But if you call in the next 30 minutes, we'll double your order. Just pay separate processing and handling.
I feel like it's kind of like those public broadcasting pledge drives where they're like, if you call now, we'll give you this free tote and a DVD of the Gaithers at the Grand Ole Opry. I don't know.
While we're waiting, and we'll cut this junk out of the actual podcast, but while we're waiting for the last caller, if there is such a thing, I'll give him 2 more minutes. You got 2 minutes on the clock, guys. I recently, not super recently, but I am a donor to my local NPR station.
Okay.
I love NPR. I listen to it religiously.
Okay.
And I feel super good. Like I budgeted like a certain amount that I'm going to give a month to my NPR station to keep them afloat like that. I feel good as a human being and a public radio listener to do this.
Nice.
But they nonstop send me emails and flyers and stuff in my actual like physical mail, like constantly like, your donation amount kind of sucks. We could always use more. And it's just like constantly, like I'm giving you X amount of dollars every month. Like it's not a lot, but I could give you 0. Like stop pressuring me for more. Oh, it kills me. It's never enough,
Nope.
Never enough. All right.
And of
All
course,
right.
it looks like Cassidy comes on right at the end.
Oh,
Is he on? Really?
There
he's
he
the
is.
messenger. Or hangouts.
Oh, I don't. Hold on.
Way to go,
Is he actually?
He just...
You guys are seeing stuff I'm not seeing. I don't see him on Slack or Hangouts.
No, if you look him... Hangouts.
The hangouts conversation.
Oh, Hangouts. Let's see.
You keep... Oh, there you are.
This is riveting, I'm sure, for everybody.
Come.
Ooh, I see a Cassidy.
Oh,
Hello.
wow, Cassidy
Hi,
appears.
Cass. How's it going?
It's going. I don't know how my audio's set up or anything, but hello.
Hello.
Dude, it sounds... Where did you get... Is that an XLR? Like, when did you get a real professional rig?
A couple weeks ago, before the Juno announcement, so that when I went on podcasts for that, it would sound better.
Dane, why does he get all the cool equipment? Oh, why? You need to double my budget. I
I
want to raise Dane.
Done. Doubled. You got it.
Well, I'm jealous. That sounds and looks really good. So we are, at this point, we're kind of winding down. We've been going for an hour solid. Daniel had to take off. We were waiting on one last batch if anyone else wanted to call. So we'll extend. You guys got lucky. If you want to talk to Cassidy, we'll extend it for another 5 minutes if anyone wants to call in.
This is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Talk to Cassidy James Blady.
Dane, your beard's really growing there. That's looking good.
Yeah, I've been letting it go. I've got the neck beard going.
Got the neck beard going on. That's good.
It's not good. It's not good. I need to trim it. But I like the length for sure.
Yeah. I did that for a little while, and then it just got so unruly. I didn't know what to do with it. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, how do I style my beard now? Am I that? Like, do I do that?
For real.
So I just shaved it off.
and I've been used to I had it like what you've got, and I would just let it grow out, and then like once a month I would just grab a whatever size clippers
Yeah,
and
just
kind of But with this thing, you really have to style it, and you have to. I watched a few YouTube videos to actually trim it all
Like
up, and
shape
stuff like
it
that.
and trim it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've been doing that, but for the past month or so, I just let it grow, and now it's all shaggy. I've got the homeless man beard. So
Allow me to change your life. Let me introduce you to a new style. It's called the goatee. Okay?
The goat.
It's like a beard, but only not as much. So like you get the clean shaven and the funness of the beard up front. You should try it sometime.
Yeah, I just don't. I just
No,
don't. It's just not for me.
Yeah, I don't know how long we'll keep it. It makes me look way older. I was teaching. I was at the health fair teaching sexting to middle schoolers this week. And
What?
that was not
Oh,
how
boy.
to sext, but rather scaring them away from sexting.
Okay.
Yeah, I should
That's
clarify.
good.
How do
that, I
you scare
suppose.
them away from sexting?
You don't, but you basically point out that it's a felony and stuff. Man, if you saw half the
just tell them it's a felony.
yeah, it's
It's fine.
If you saw half the stuff that I saw come through our email system,
Oh my
like,
gosh.
it's
Ooh.
the stuff I see at work is absolutely makes me want to just go jump off a bridge sometimes. But anyway,
Wow.
this just got dark all of a sudden. The whole point is that I'm 24 years old. That's it. I'm 24. I am 10 years older than these kids that I'm lecturing. But they cannot believe that I'm 24. And one girl straight tells me like, "I thought you were like 35."
Yeah, you don't have the sense of age at that age.
No,
Like,
I've
Yeah,
never
it's
felt
true.
older in my life than when she said she thought I was in my mid-30s.
amazing.
I just want to hang it up and it's over.
That's great.
Go get a sports car.
Just keep being a high school teacher, and you will continue to feel super old.
Oh, God. And these were it was the sixth
You
grade
keep
health
getting
fair.
older,
So
and they keep staying the same age. What is that line?
oh, God,
Matthew McConaughey.
yeah. All right. All right.
All right.
All right. It doesn't look
Anyway.
like we're getting any more callers in. But
I'm not that popular.
yeah, I mean, we had one whole caller this show. So
Oh, really?
yeah. But it's been a lot of fun. We've so
That's good.
I'll ask you in general some of the questions that we asked.
Sure.
Asked Dan. How does it feel having Juno out in the wild? Is it almost surreal?
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know. I'm probably a bad person to ask because I'm like, okay, it's out there, but we have so much to do. like it feels a little surreal. It's like, oh wow, it's been a couple years kind of leading up to this, but like at the same time, we've got so many like cross OS projects we're working on, and we've got so many efforts and initiatives that we want to do. That's like, okay, we got Juno out of the way, so we can get the real work done now. It's almost what it feels like, which is
Yeah.
like not to say like Juno is a huge deal. There's a lot of work that went into that, but like it's almost a relief that we can get to work on some of this other stuff too.
It really is, and I know that I've seen it kind of evolve at Elementary over the years because it used to. I mean, back in the day, and I'm terrible with the release names, but what was the second one? We had Luna,
It was Jupiter,
Jupiter,
then
Luna.
then
Luna,
Freya, then
Mm-hmm.
Loki.
There we
and
go.
Juno.
So I feel like we went straight from Freya, and like as soon as it was out, like we were just immediately on the next one. Like there was no, now we're kind of saying that we're on a cycle. This is the beginning. We're going to put out these point releases. But I remember back in the day, it was like, okay, this thing is out. We're on to the next one. So is that
Yeah,
fair? Is
yeah.
that
Yeah, I think that kind of started with Loki. It was like Loki is when Elementary kind of became more of a rolling release because it's like our apps we pushed so many apps like app updates and like significant updates to the OS to Loki instead of saving those for the next version. And like especially compared to a more traditional point release system like Ubuntu, like we were very loose on like allowing app updates for our own stuff to roll into the OS, which is really cool because it kind of changes what a release represents. Instead of the release being the end, we call it the final release, which is funny because it's not the final release of Juno, it's the first release of Juno. But like instead of it being the final thing and that's it really is the beginning. It's now that Juno is out, we have a lot of these efforts that we're rolling out into Juno, and Juno is growing and evolving and becoming better.
Yeah, and it's also just a fact of how software development works that you can put out as many betas as you want, but until you really get it out for wider releasing, there are going to be bugs that creep up that you had no idea just because until that wider user base gets out there that you didn't know it was there. So
Right.
the first point release is going to be a big one because it will have a lot of the bug fixes for bugs that we didn't even know were out there until users
Right.
got it in their hands
Yeah.
and used it.
Yeah, there'll be all sorts of bug fixes. There's been like one of the efforts that's been cool that we kind of started thinking about but never really put much action behind until after Juno was released, is the keyboard shortcut discoverability stuff. So it's like having all the tooltips in the apps actually tell you what the keyboard shortcuts are. Like we saw the first glimpse of that with the applications menu, but now we have like a better style for it. It's like in the HIG now. It's consistent across apps. Like, so it's cool that there was this teeny little piece that actually got into Juno, which was in the applications menu tooltip. And now that has become this like almost defining feature of Juno after the release. So it's kind of weird, but those are the kinds of efforts that I'm excited about, are like those really quality of life improvements that we can do.
Absolutely. And it's a weird time that we live in because, you know, back in the day you would have, when you would ship something, it was, okay, we're going to actually print this on a disc and put it in a box and people are going to buy it, and that's it. That's all it is. But now, although I guess I still sometimes like to go into like a Barnes & Noble and look at Linux user and developer or whatever the magazine is, and actually like, I mean, I have the one here that has Loki. I just actually have it like, on my bulletin board. So it's kind of weird to think that,
I love it.
You know, that was the first stable release, and like the final one's way better, but it wasn't actually printed and put on the
right. And if you take that CD and put it in, you'd have so many updates, you know, now.
Oh, it's crazy.
Right. Which it's like it's a blessing and a curse. It's like, you know, everyone hates it when you get a brand new game on release day and then you download a 10 gigabyte patch on day one. Like, so there's a little bit of a difference there with OSs, I think, where we can spin ISOs much quicker than shipping out physical discs or whatever.
Right.
But there still is that sometimes. And like, we're good about updating the ISO on the website when there's significant updates too. So yeah, 5.1 is going to be real big.
Nice. I'm excited for it. And just on a side comment, you know, you mentioned the game updates and having to wait on all that stuff. Can I just say, as a Nintendo Switch owner, how much I love being able to say, not now, I just want to play the darn game. Don't update me.
You can do that on the PlayStation.
Yes. Oh,
you can do it on PS4.
I guess I'm just used to the Xbox
if the game's not, well, it depends. If the game has online features, it will let you play the game without those features.
Oh, okay.
If your game is completely online, like Destiny or whatever, then that means you just can't play the game, which is annoying. So,
oh, that sucks. Awesome. All right,
so yeah, it is nice.
So what?
Switch lets you download updates from your friends.
Yes.
When you're playing,
like a peer-to-peer updates.
Nice.
Yes.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
You can match versions. It's really cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Smart.
So, how have you? What's your opinion of the reception of Juno? What do you think of the reviews and everything? Have you been happy or disappointed? What do you think?
I honestly haven't read a ton of them.
Oh, really? Wow.
I've been happy with a lot of what I've seen. I guess I've been unsurprised by almost everything, which is positive and negative. I've been really, really pleased with like Jason at Forbes doing, you know, his looks at both the I think he did a look at the beta and now has done like a preview of the final release or whatever. I've been really happy with that because that's really cool, and it's really nice to see somebody who's kind of coming from outside of the Linux bubble.
Oh yeah.
And it's really what's the word I'm looking for? I guess like reassuring or validating, seeing that somebody outside of this bubble that we're in like gets it. Like he clearly understands what we're doing and like recognizes the little things that we're doing, and so that's been really cool. That's been a big positive. I've been really happy with like Linux Explained, I think or My Linux Experiment, that one, YouTube channel. Nick, I think is his name. That's been like, he's done a review of it and it was really cool. Oh gosh, I'm so bad at pronouncing all these names. There's been a handful of YouTube reviews that are really cool, really excited. But then there's also been the neckbeard like, elementary OS is not for me, and it's still the same, and it's still not for me. It's like, yeah, that's fine. It's really fine that it's not for you. That's okay.
And that's a good thing. It shouldn't be for everybody.
But they're like angrily ranting that it's not for them. They're like, they open it up. They're like, I don't like elementary OS, but I'm going to review this release. This release is terrible. It's not for me. It's like, okay, why? Okay, that's fine. So that's the unsurprising part. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. But no, I've been mostly happy with it. It's there's actually a couple of upcoming reviews that I'm really excited to see too. So
Oh, nice. That's a good tease you got there.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
I like it. Yeah, it's and one thing I've noticed too is that finally, I don't know how many years it's been now, but finally after all these years, like anytime, like on Reddit or anything, when someone tries to say like elementary thinks you're stealing or any
Oh
of
my
those
gosh.
comments, they're finally getting downvoted. Like we
it's
don't
just
even.
like, just stop. Yeah.
And the public at large is finally coming around on that. I feel like, and it's
yeah.
it's nice to see that finally dying down a little bit.
Yeah, it does get tiring over time of like, whether it's people bringing up old misinterpreted wounds, or people who just don't get what we're doing or don't agree with what we're doing. Like, let me start out to say it is perfectly fine if you don't agree with what we're doing. That's fine. That's your right. Whatever, you know. But like, it just gets tiring when it's like, oh, you guys are still elementary OS? So you should go screw yourselves. Like, go die. It's like, cool. That was really, I really appreciated that personal message telling me to go kill myself. Like, that's fine. Come
We
on.
talked a little bit about that earlier. We were talking about how on the subreddit, for the first time, I feel like we've had a few people who were like straight up violating the code of conduct, like with racist
Oh, yeah.
stuff, and like
Oh,
it's as
yeah.
awful as it is to have people having that behavior. It's nice to know that the code of conduct has some actual beef to it, and that it's obvious that we don't tolerate that kind of stuff, and we want to make it a welcoming place for people. So it's been a
Right.
good opportunity. It's a sucky situation, but it's a good opportunity to show we're serious about that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's an example and saying, hey, well, this happened, and that's how we deal with it, and that's fine. Like, yeah, it's unfortunate that people suck, but guess what? People suck.
It's true.
Just
Uh,
in general.
but you, dear listener, do not suck. If you
That's
would
right.
like to join
That's
us. Awesome. Well, hold on.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
We have Micah. Remember last time we had a really hard time pronouncing his name?
Ilbury?
Yes, he wants to come in, and I'm gonna come on in.
Dude, bring him in just so I can rave about his really cool icon for an upcoming app.
All right,
Because
let's do it.
Uh-oh.
All right, we're gonna bring him in. It may take him a minute to actually show up. First thing I've got to do is ask his name. We'll settle the score once and for all. How do we pronounce his last name?
I gotta find how I can tease this app without oh, it's public on GitHub now. Yeah. Actually, David Hewitt. We've got like a dream team here. You got David Hewitt doing some crazy GStreamer stuff that is way over my head.
Nice.
I'm doing the front end and UX, and Micah did the icons, and it's looking cool.
That sounds awesome. And again, for those watching live, all these really awkward pauses, if you go back later and download the episode, we will cut that stuff out.
Oh, wow.
And look at that, just like that, a wild Micah has appeared. Hello, how are you?
Good, good. I'm gonna have to talk a little quietly. I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you. It's fine.
My 1-year-old's asleep, so
Oh, gosh, no worries. Well, so our first question is, how do you pronounce your last name?
it is Ilberry, like
Like a
sickly-
sick
Like
cherry. Sickly fruit. I like it.
Yeah.
Hillberry.
Awesome. So Cassidy was telling us about some cool new icon design work you've done. What have you been up to lately?
Well, not a lot. Kind of searching for jobs. That's about what I've been doing lately.
Well, that's
But-
bad for you, but that's good for us.
I'm not really all that useful.
Oh, come on now. We have some of the best icons ever because of you.
For real.
Yeah.
Mm,
You're killing it.
If I go down as a poor man's Sam Hewitt, I'd be happy. So
That is a very good bar to strive to. I've tried, by the way, for listeners who are wondering, I've tried for years to get Sam to come on the show, and I think I almost have him whittled down. Now, keep in mind, with our little hiatus there in the middle, I had him almost whittled down, and then we had that big hiatus. So who knows
gotta
where we
start
are
over.
now? But
I thought we had him on one time.
I don't think
way
we did.
back in the past.
I know I've seen him on some
yeah,
show.
you had him on one of your shows. I
Did we
believe.
have him on?
Yeah, I'm pretty
Quite a
sure
while
we
ago,
did.
but yeah.
I remember talking to him. I've been on Hangouts with him, and I'm pretty sure it was for our show.
Yeah, I've definitely been on Hangouts with him, but I don't. Oh wow, where
Back
where
to
does
the
time go?
archives.
Sam, I apologize if I've completely forgotten about you being on the show, but that just goes to show that you need to come back on. if
It's been so
anything.
long, it's like you were never here.
It's exactly. I mean, literally, I have no. I don't remember it one bit. That's awesome.
Side note, though, I need you to go back as my most favorite, most awesomest co-host. I need you to go back and just listen to the entire backlog of our episodes.
Well, it wouldn't be that long because we've only had 25 episodes up until now. I really
See?
I want
I
to.
don't give you hard homework.
No, that's true. It takes a lot of time though. That's 25 hours. Who do I get to bill for that time? But seriously though, I do want to like our first guest ever, if I remember correctly, was Mr. Brian Lunduke, and I would love to get Brian back on the show and talk to him. And I know we had
yeah.
Stuart Langridge at one point, Carl from System 76. And then there are a lot of people we've never had on the show that I'd like to get on the show.
But now we have Micah Ilberry.
Yes, absolutely. Ilberry, the sick berry. How many people call you the sick berry?
Not many, because most people don't know how to pronounce it in the first place. I mean,
We were in that camp until tonight, so perfect. So, Mr. Sickberry, did you have a question for the panel?
yeah, so now that Juno is released, I want to talk about the new installer. Maybe not specifically the installer, but the new setup process. So now that Juno is released in the wild, when are we going to start on that new initial setups train, getting that thing worked out?
So I think, and this is a problem because I haven't checked, but I think the initial setup actually does the very minimum viable thing of creating a user, and that's it. It like doesn't let you set up online accounts. And all
right.
That. As far as I understand, it actually creates a user. The installer, there's a version of our installer out there that works great in production, and it's used in Pop OS.
Yeah, I installed Pop on my brother's laptop just yesterday.
Yeah, and it's a very slick process
And super fast.
Super fast.
Oh yeah, super fast.
The main problem, or the thing that's going to take the most time, I think, to start is getting it back in sync. So in order to ship 1804 and 1810, and they've been focusing on their hardware and stuff, System 76 has done like a fork of the installer effectively. Right. And so we'll need to get it back in sync so that we can use the same back-end library and everything. So that's going to be probably the longest and most tedious part, is like, because the back-end API has changed a lot, and so our front end no longer builds against the back end, and so that's problematic. But I think once we get that in sync again, the installer is not going to take much time at all.
Right.
Initial setup is going to take a little bit of time, but even getting just an MVP, like create a user out there, I also don't think that code is going to take much time. I think what's going to be the most difficult, other than syncing the installer, is the actual ISO work that needs to be done.
Okay.
Mostly because I believe, and Cody has a much better, clearer picture of this than I think anybody else does, but I think it implies that we change the way we build our ISOs in order to support the new installer, because we're not using a Ubiquity. The session, I think, is different to start. So I think that's going to be the hardest thing. And that's also really hard to test. And it's really time consuming to test, of spin a new ISO, test that new ISO on real hardware. Oh, it didn't work. Okay, spin a new ISO. And that process back and forth takes a while to get down. So I'd be really interested in an in-person sprint to help cut down on those bandwidth issues.
Right.
But I don't know. We've talked a little bit about doing a 5.1 sprint that would focus on the installer, but we don't have concrete plans yet. But that's something I'm going to start trying to organize, I think.
What the initial setup is, what all we're going to try and tackle for that? Is it just create the user, get them password and get them in, or are we going to try and introduce them to the operating system a little bit, kind of like what Android does when you open up a Android screen where it says, hey, this is the app drawer, this is the whatever.
So I don't think we're going to do any sort of tutorial type thing. A big part of that comes from the philosophy of if you have to explain it, you're doing it wrong, kind of.
Kind of like a joke, yeah.
It's yeah, exactly. If you have to explain it, it's not good. And I mean, Elementary's been designed in a way that, especially now with the search icon in the applications menu and the tooltip there, it's pretty easy to find your way around. I could see a one-page maybe for resources or something for like
Maybe
to go
pull
learn
up
more.
the shortcut. The key shortcuts at first. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Something like that. That's really simple and unintrusive. But I think it's mostly going to be focused. And actually, we have a GitHub repo for it if you want to go check it out. It's github.com/elementary/initial-setup.
I've seen it. I have not built it yet.
Yeah, we've got. I think, like I said, I think it builds and I think it actually creates a user. So, like, if you run it as your user, I think you have to run it as root so that it has permissions or whatever. But if you run it in your session and you run through it, it'll actually create a user, like another account on your computer. So it does the minimum thing. But then there's issues there filed for like, okay, we should do an internet connection in that so that then we can do online accounts. We can do automatic time zone location stuff. And it also gives us an opportunity to like introduce the not only like, hey, let's set your default location, but like let's introduce the concept of location services.
Right.
It's like, hey, when an app requests location, you'll see this screen. Like we can do that kind of educational stuff, which I think will be really interesting to be able to do. Like, like kind of inform the user, hey, this is how we're protecting your privacy, or hey, this is a feature that you might not see right away, but when you see it, at least now you'll be a little more familiar. But we also want to be careful to not get in the way of people who like know this and have been using elementary OS.
Make sure we have a skip all
5
button.
years. Yeah, exactly. Be able to be like, I know what I'm doing. Let's just go.
And that's one thing that GNOME Shell does right now. I know that drives me bonkers is if you ever log into a new user account, you have to go through all that crap, and then at the end of it, you're like, okay, I've made it all the way, and then it loads up a help. The help screen. It's like, oh my god, get out of my way. So
right. Yeah. So there's definitely a balance there, but I think we'll be able to get like a minimum viable thing out the door pretty quickly. I think the real hard work is, like I said, syncing the installer and getting the ISO rebuilt. So
and then building all the things that we want to walk people through.
right. Yeah. So I'm excited though. It's definitely gonna
the
make a big
installer
difference.
is like the biggest pain point for me right now. It's just like, oh man, I know we can make something that looks so much better.
Yeah.
and the first page that has nothing on it other than the continue button. That every time I look at that, it's just
it actually has a select your language thing, but then the rest of it's blank, and so it feels like the entire thing is blank, and it looks like a bug. But
because it's a tiny little list box over
or links to release notes that don't exist.
Right. Well, I think that's why it's blank right now, is because it's like it's meant to release or link to release notes or something, but it's it's difficult to customize and tailor Ubiquity to our needs, and it's just time to move on.
It's old and busted. Awesome. Well, Micah, do you have anything else you want to ask or comment on?
I will say that until I started trying to make that anamorph icon, I had no idea what an anamorphic lens was.
Nice. Hey, now you know.
So I spent a few minutes Googling, trying to figure out what it looked like. My brother knew all about it whenever I pulled it up. But
what I've found now, so I guess for people who want to go look at it, the app doesn't do anything yet. But if you go to github.com/CassidyJames/anamorph, there's an app we're working on there. Micah's designed an awesome icon, and it looks like you're looking at an anamorphic lens head-on, and it's got lens flare, and it's got the streaky anamorphic things, and it's got the recessed lens, and it looks like glass, and it's beautiful. It's got the oval shutter in there. Like it's so cool. It's so detailed. I love it.
I have also seen the icon, and it is absolutely gorgeous.
Like I kept looking at it, and I kept seeing new things. I'm like, this is so cool. And so I'm gonna go off on a little mini tangent here. When people say like, oh well, skeuomorphism is dead and everything is flat, and it's like there's a lot of pieces of elementary OS that are more flat than they used to be, and we've slowly iterated on our design. But like, I love me a good icon. I love when you look at an icon and it fits perfectly in the guidelines. It's like perfectly crisp. It's not some like crazy hyper, like 1024 by 1024 thing that's been squished down. But it's still so detailed. Like being able to have little lens flare, and like you see a shutter back there, and then you see like the sensor, and it's beautiful.
I really tried to gracefully degrade the amount of
the level of detail
inside of him the smaller you got, because it got really kind of crowded in there when you got small.
No, it looks good. I think you did a great job on it.
It looks beautiful, man.
I'm not
That's
gonna
like-
lie. I looked at the built-in camera lens that I don't know if it was Dan or Sam made, and I was
Oh
just
yeah.
like, how do lenses look like in real life?
Yeah. Well, and that's what I love. It was like we can. I think the elementary icons lend themselves well to like. It's kind of this in between of we can get a lot of detail in there, but it's also clearly not a photo like or
Right.
a 3D rendering. Like because sometimes I think with like the Mac OS or the older Mac OS icons more, and some of the GNOME icons like they
Yeah.
either look like or they literally are like a hyper realistic 3D rendering. And like
Right.
that looks really cool, and I guess GNOME is going away from that with their new icon style. But
Looks really
Which,
cool
oh
until
my
you
gosh.
get smaller icons.
yeah, and when you scale it down, just everything becomes kind of blurry, and
Right.
so it's really cool having these like hyper realistic icons, but then they scale gracefully, not just because they're an SVG, but because the designer has said, "Hey, at this size, I'm going to use this much detail, and at this size, I'm going to use this much detail." And that's I love
Right.
that. Like I feel like we're one of the only platforms these days that's even doing it. Like even
Oh, I know.
not just Linux, but like big platforms. Like Android doesn't do that kind of stuff. I don't think Mac OS does that anymore. Like
When I look at
iOS,
Dribble, I kind of miss like 2009 Dribble when everything
right?
was.
You've got that like
Okay.
the pixel perfect strokes and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, if we could like bring 2009's design with the understanding of white space of today,
yeah,
because it felt like some things were a little cramped. I mean,
sure.
you could argue for compact, mostly readable everything in there, but
That's awesome.
Yeah,
All right, well, Micah, we'll let you go. Thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure to have
thanks
you
for
on.
having me.
Awesome. Take care. We may try to get you on in a future show or something, okay?
yeah.
All right. I'm
Awesome.
not sure how helpful it'll be, but
Nah, you'll be great. We'll looking forward to having you on. Awesome. Well, take care. See ya.
see ya.
Awesome. All right. So, does anyone else have anything to add? We've been at this for an hour and a half. I'm ready to wrap this puppy up. What do you guys think?
Sounds good.
Yeah, clearly we're all ready for this. It's fine, whatever. It's just awesome. Well, Cassidy, do you have anything you want to plug?
I don't know. Yeah, I guess my website is CassidyJames.com. I've got links to everything there, so I don't have to remember anything mostly.
There you go.
You can follow me on Twitter and the dying Google Plus and all that jazz. Mastodon.
Rip in peace. Pour one out for Google Plus.
Yeah. I'll use it till the day it's done, though. We'll see.
I've given up. I gave up long ago. It's dead. It doesn't exist to me anymore.
Dead to you.
What about you, Blake? Do you have anything you want to plug?
My website is btcostner.io because .io is the new hot thing, apparently. Links to social networks and all that stuff there. I'm not popular. I don't tweet that much.
Oh, baloney! You don't tweet that much.
You
Yes.
tweet enough. I've seen
All
your
about, like,
tweets.
Raves, though. It's fine. It's great. He likes so much stuff, and it shows up in my feed, and it's always that meme of, like, the heart at the, like, yeah. It's great. I love it. I love following Blake.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's weird stuff.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. It's been an absolute blast.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Dane, do you have anything you want to tell the fine folks at home?
Not much else. I guess I'm Brain of Dane on Twitter, and I have brainofdane.com, but that thing really needs to be updated, so don't go there. I think that's pretty much about it. I'm Brain of Dane on Instagram if you guys like that sort of thing.
There you go. And don't forget Agenda and App Center. Go and download it and chip in a few dollars, and it's really nice. If you like just a basic to-do list, which I do personally. I'm an old school guy. I normally just write it on a piece of paper, but if you want to kind of replicate that experience and have just a nice list of stuff you got to get done and check off, Agenda is really good for that. So
It's a sweet little app, and I'm still tweaking it.
Exactly. So if he won't plug it, I will. And speaking of apps to plug, guess what's in the Juno App Center? That's right, it's Vocal.
Yes, Vocal.
So run, don't walk. You download Vocal. I'm so super proud of this release. It's been a ton of work. There are a lot of new features and a lot of bug fixes. I think we've finally gotten at least most of the stability bugs out of the way, so it doesn't crash on updates or crash on launching, and you no longer get stuck on the welcome screen, and it's a lot more stable than it's been maybe ever. I'm really pleased with it. So if you've not tried it in a while, please go and download Vocal and give it a try. And also, you can find me on Twitter at Nathan Dyer with an underscore hanging off the end there. It's really dumb. Blame whoever has just Nathan Dyer. One of these days, that guy's going to disappear or something. I want to get that Twitter.
So you're Nathan Dyer with a dangling dilly.
Oh, no.
Well, Dan, this is a family show.
Is it though?
Yes, who knows. And I will also say my website is nathandyer.me, where I plan to put more blog posts up. I recently posted the blog post about my 6-month hellish bathroom remodel. I still want to go in and fix it because some of the images are in the wrong spot and things like that. It's bothering me. But if you want to see a nude picture of me in the shower, that's a tease. You can actually find one there.
Oh no!
So you guys look forward to
scrolling. I'm looking.
Man, well, that was it was something. Anyway, so I can think of no better way to end the show other than that. Also, I've mentioned all episode long, but be sure and follow us at Simp Elementary on Twitter. You can send us an email. We love reading your messages and everything. That's simplyelementarypodcast@gmail.com. We'll be sure and check all that and read it out on the next show. And leave a review for us on iTunes. It helps us tremendously. It helps people find the show. And we plan to be back. No definitive date, but we are trying to get these done at least once a month and stick to a regular schedule. So I plan to see everybody back here in December, maybe for some prediction shows or some holiday
Christmas
shows
special.
or something. Yeah, exactly. We need a Christmas special.
We do.
Yep, absolutely awesome. So thank you to all of our listeners, and we will see you back here around December.
Peace.
Peace.
Bye.
All right. Since this is a live stream, I'm going to go ahead and say thank you for everybody who called in, everybody who watched. I hope it was enjoyable. I'm going to go ahead and stop the broadcast. So if we have to do anything or say anything or whatever, we are no longer self-incriminating everything. So everything is officially, I'm going to hit the stop broadcast button and we're going to go off public record. But thank you again for listening. And if you want to catch this show again, the archive will be on YouTube forever, but I'm going to edit this and make it a listenable audio podcast, and it'll be on the feed probably by the weekend. So thank you all for listening. I hope you enjoyed, and take care.
Woo.